let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it, because it's one of the things that threw me off hard. So they made the decision to alter map density in higher tier difficulties. So in the past, people complain about being swarmed when you go from the campaign into mapping system, or the mapping endgame system, right? Which I definitely agreed with. As soon as you entered this early stage mapping, you were swarmed. So what they did was they lowered the density of lower tier maps, and as you got into higher tier maps, the density would then scale upwards to not have any changes in the highest tier of maps, tier 14, 15, 16, compared to how it was before. Apparently, a lot of people were still complaining that they were getting swarmed, and maybe I'm just in my streamer bubble, but I haven't heard anyone ever complain about that in higher tier maps, ever. I've never seen any of those comments ever. But maybe I'm just stuck in my little streamer bubble here. As a result, apparently there was an overwhelming amount of feedback about this, and they decided to remove the scaling of density. So now the density in the higher tier maps will be the same as you have in the lower tier maps. To offset this, to make sure that rewards aren't taken away from players, what they've done instead is that in the highest tier maps, the enemies will be having 40% more life, and they will be giving you 40% more rewards and 40% more experience to offset the reduction of density. That sounds pretty good. There's some other benefits to this as well. It means that builds are less and less forced into the bubble of mega AoE, mega chaining, clearing, AoE effects, projectiles, whatever, to be able to clear vast amounts of enemies, which would incentivize or at least encourage other types of builds to have good clear speed as a result of less monsters on the field. So yeah, I definitely think that there are some really good benefits behind this change, but from my perspective, like, I never felt this being overwhelmed, and I've never seen anyone complain about it. I never heard anyone complain about it, but apparently a lot of people did. So it just feels weird to me. And what then is going to happen is that one of the biggest complaints we had in the early stages of Path of Exile 2 was that the maps were so freaking big and they were hollow because of lack of things to do in the maps. One of the things that helped this was an increase of mob density in the maps. So you actually were fighting things as you moved around this massive area. But now that density is being brought down, is this going to result in us having these massive zones with huge gaps of no enemies at all to fight? Because the density is back to what it is in the early stage maps. That feels a bit off to me. Now, I'm not saying that it's not beneficial for the game, because I do think that the positives are very good in terms of build diversity, opening up for different types of way of playing the game, and maintaining good clear speed, because the packs of enemies that exist is going to be significantly lower and the rewards better, which I guess gives you the sense of more tactical, meaningful combat, which, to be fair, is something we experienced for the first half of the campaign. But after the first half of a campaign, your character is so strong that meaningful combat gets thrown out the window. You normally, most builds have more buttons to press in the first half of the campaign than you have for the rest of the game, because your character's strong enough to not need to have tons of different combo setups to kill white packs of enemies. So I'm not sure how well received this change is going to be, but I will recognize the beneficial aspects of it, such as build diversity and whatnot, when it comes to the aspect of clearing and improving those things in the game. What I am mostly concerned about is the sense of maps feeling hollow, large, and kind of boring, because you have to run, you kill 5 mobs, and then you have to run 2 miles to fight another 5 mobs. Feels kind of weird, because that's how the early stage maps can very often feel like. But now that's going to be the case in the higher tier maps. The only difference is every time you do fight a group of enemies, those enemies will be harder. Sure, but you still have the problem of massive areas, which now has fewer monsters in them. That feels awkward to me. That's my current take on that specific topic. I don't know, my question to you guys watching this on YouTube, or for you guys watching live right now, have you heard people complain about this, that people are getting swarmed? I made a poll on Twitter. I made a poll on stream, and everyone is overwhelmingly saying, no, they never had this issue. I don't know where they got this feedback from. It just makes no sense to me. I see the benefits of it, but I think that if they do that, they also have to cut down on the sizes of maps as well, because it sounds like we're back on the idea that we kill a couple of enemies and then we have to run 2 miles before we engage with the next combat. It's maybe I'm, shooting my shot too early and have to wait and see and play test it, see how it feels as we play it, because I think it might actually feel pretty good. People ask me if this is an indirect buff to most minion builds. Yeah, I would say that it's a pretty big buff to minion builds in general, because most minion builds don't really have a massive AoE coverage on the higher end game of gameplay. So having fewer monsters to fight that are tankier is something that minions actually excels at, compared to having a ridiculous large set of enemies to fight, because we don't have any inherent melee splash for attacking units. We don't have massive explosions outside of Volgars, for example. So yeah, in general, it's actually beneficial for minion builds in general to play with. But I'm still concerned about the hollow sense that we might feel in maps with lack of monsters to engage with between packs, I guess. I think that's my take on it. I wanted to raise this topic up and see what you guys feel about it. Again, mainly because I've never, ever seen anyone complain about this after the changes they made. Anyways, let me know in the comments below. See you guys in the next one.